Guys, it's Lanikia. I am coming to you with season 2, episode. Oops, sorry, too low. Sorry about that. Season 2, episode 1 of Good Girls called I'd Rather Be Crafty. Now, I know I'm a little bit late doing this one, but this is actually one show that I actually, because y'all, if you know that I'll start reviewing the show and then sometimes I'll stop because I won't be into the show anymore. But this is actually one show that I love probably more than The Handmaid's Tale, and that's the only show that I'm able to like to review straight through like each week is The Handmaid's Tale. But this one I've been wanting to do, but my laptop of it has been messed up, so I wasn't able to do it like I wanted to. So that therefore I'm a few episodes behind. But we're gonna just go with this like I've never seen the last 3 episodes. So this is episode 1. Again, it's called I'd Rather Be Crafty. So we start off with Beth cleaning blood, blood from the floor. And then we go to, she's getting all of the supplies and everything out of her vehicle because she has to clean the blood up off the floor and everything. So at this point, we don't know who she shot, whether it was Dean or Rio. But one of her neighbors comes up to her because her neighbor's been jogging, and she was just complimenting Beth on her children, how they're so well behaved, etc., etc. And Beth is just like, oh, and then she tells Beth who made the mess, and Beth was like, oh, it's me. And then we go 12 we go 12 hours earlier and we see Greg and Annie are in the vehicle and they're making out. They're, and everything. Now, mind you, Greg is married, trying to have a baby with his wife. So he's making out with Annie, and then they both put a stop. Well, Annie puts a stop to it because she's like, this is wrong. This is cheating what we're doing. And they both realize, or they admit that they're not that drunk. So they could stop this if they wanted to, but they don't want to. So they keep, we assume that they actually sleep with each other. So they actually fully cheat at that point. Then we see Ruby, who tries to talk to Stan, but he's upset and he's sleeping on the couch. So she wants to know, like, he's sleeping on the couch because he feels like she's lied. He was very kind of disrespectful to her, like, you're lying. And I was like, that's kind of disrespectful. I mean, I know she lied, but she had a good reason to lie, and I know you're upset that she, because they have a tight bond, Ruby and Stan. So I understood why he was upset, but he was a little bit disrespectful. But we're gonna let that slide because she was lying to his face or whatever. But he gets his gun and she's like, what are you doing with that? And he was like, because you and your girlfriend thought you could put some gangsters away and they made bail. So at this point, Ruby is trying to contact Beth. To try to tell Beth, like, hey, they're out or whatever. But Beth, at that point, Beth has already walked into her home and Rio is talking to her. He's in the kitchen with Dean. And so when she hears him, of course she's shocked because she thought he was in jail going to prison. So she drops everything. And one of the things she happens to drop is her phone. And so she can't get the call from Ruby giving her heads up. But by the time Ruby called Beth, it was too late anyway. She was already inside the home. It was too late for her to do it. Like, there was nothing going to come out of that. At least that's what I think. Beth begs Rio not to kill her and Dean. And Rio was like, well, you wanted to take me out. You want to be the top. You want to be the main person on this. You want to be the boss. Well, it's medieval. You got to take the current boss out. Like, you don't get to just send him away to prison just so you can have the spot, or you can be, not in the life anymore. I guess he feels like she was trying to take his spot, which I don't know what Beth was trying to do, because she was so up in the air. Like, at one point it seemed like she wanted it, and then another point she goes to where she just wants to be this normal housewife. And so and the exact same thing happens. He gives her the gun. She could easily just take Rio out and everything, but she doesn't. She's hesitating. She's just holding the gun, and Dean is like, shoot him, and she's like, shut up, Dean. And he was like, Beth, what are you doing? And Rio's like, Elizabeth, what are you doing? Did anybody know he called her Elizabeth? I've never heard him call, like, I watched the first season twice and I didn't hear. That's how I knew I liked this show, because I actually watched it again. And usually when I watch a show, even no matter how much I love it, I can never watch a season again. But I will actually watch the first season again just to get caught up on this for season 2. But anyways, so this just she's all over the place because she wants it to be over, which she tells Rio she just wants it to end, but she doesn't want to have to shoot him to get it to end or whatever. But so he tells her, okay, it'll be over, or whatever. So he gets the gun from her. She gives him the gun, and then he shoots Dean. He just reaches back and he shoots Dean, and he was like, okay, now it's over. Pretty much like, I guess we're even for you trying to put me in prison, and like I'm gonna shoot him. So that's where that happens there. Okay, so then we go to does anybody? I like the way he calls her darling, and instead of doing like the whole thing, he does a little finger. I like Rio though. I thought he was a little bit shorter than what he was, so I was surprised that like he's that tall or whatever. But yeah, if you follow the Facebook, which I do, I'm a top fan, you'll know that the women are really loving Rio. I don't know. I liked him last season, but I like him better this season. Even though he doesn't have that many lines. It's like they give you just enough Rio, for the episode, to me, because I see some people saying they want more, and I'm like, nah, I'm cool. I'm cool with like him popping in, like at the beginning of the episode, maybe in the middle, and then for sure at the end. It's usually how they put Rio scenes in there. So they're at the hospital. Ruby and Annie make it to the hospital with Beth because Dean, of course, has been shot. And Beth starts just sitting there, and she's just thinking, like, here I am, this drug dealer who's threatened to kill them multiple times, threatened the family multiple times. That was her way out to get rid of him. After everything that they've been through, and she couldn't even shoot him. Like, she couldn't do it, and he shoots Dean, and now because she's thinking Dean is dead, so she kind of becomes hysterical, and she starts laughing and everything. And there's another couple in the room with them, and they're I don't know, they get upset because she's laughing, which with my family, that's what we do. Like, when we like tragedy happens or something, we kind of laugh, we kind of joke to get through it and everything. So I wasn't like, if that had been me, I wouldn't have been offended by her laughing. I would have just been like, oh, poor girl, like she's really, but they were all offended. They got up and left, and she was like, I'm sorry, I hope your loved one's okay. And so then the doctor comes out and everything, and the doctor pretty much lets her know, Dean's gonna have to have physical therapy and everything. And she's like, wait, he's alive? And he's like, yes. And so the girls are looking at her because they didn't expect him to make it. And I think the doctor told her if he had been shot like an inch closer to his heart, I believe, or an artery, then he wouldn't have made it. But he survived. So there's that. So then we see where Leslie, so then we go to the store that Annie used, the store that Leslie manages, and he's got them all, he has the area blocked off, and he has the security guard looking at the area and everything, picking up all the evidence. And the security guard is like, the police already did this. And so Boomer tells him, like, I know those girls paid you off. I don't know what you agreed to or whatever, but I know something shady went down and you could have stopped them or whatever. And so he gives Boomer, everything that he picked up in the plastic bag. And then Boomer goes over to Jimmy's house. Jimmy the detective. He goes over to his place, and we see Jimmy has a partner. I don't know why they put that in there. I don't know if it was just to let us know that Jimmy is gay, or like, I don't know why they put that in there. But anyway, so we see Jimmy has a partner, and Jimmy's like, oh, it's nothing, I'll handle it. And so he's asking, like, he manhandles Leslie, and he pins him against the wall, and he's like, or the door, and he's like, only people that would come to someone's home in the middle of the night are crazy people. Are you crazy, Leslie? And he's like, no, those girls are playing you. Like, they're behind all of it. They're playing, they set you up. They're playing you, and they're laughing that they're getting away with it and everything. He kicks Boomer out because, like, it's the middle of the night. He's not trying to hear that. But he does start reviewing the case file because he has it laid out, and he sees that, okay, somebody wrote him a note. Beth wrote him a note, letting him know, the evidence and everything for Rio. excuse me. So she left him that note. So he starts looking at it and he was like, wait. So he goes back and he looks inside of the plastic bag that Boomer had given him. And inside of that Ziploc bag is the pin cap where Beth had took the pin cap and used her mouth to take it off instead of, I don't know. And she had on lipstick that day. So now he has evidence and he wants to run and get it tested and everything that that's what happened. So then Jimmy goes over to Beth's house and he lets her know, you know, we have DNA and we need you to come down to the station for DNA. And she says she's going to get a lawyer and all of that. But pretty much he's telling her, listen, I got you. I know y'all did it. I know y'all were the ones who robbed the bank and everything. I know you're not this just innocent housewife who slept with a gangster one time and didn't know who it was. And you were just having like a one-time fling or whatever. I know there's more to this story than that. So Beth tells him to leave. So then we go to Stan tells Ruby to turn herself in. He's like, okay, they got the DNA. When Beth goes down there, you know, and gives her DNA, you're like, it's over. So turn yourself in because the first person to roll gets the best deal. And so Beth, Ruby doesn't want to do, like, he said, you did it for your family. So now get yourself out of this for your family. And Ruby, she said, like, of course, you know, she loves her family. She has a really close bond with Stan, her husband, of course. They, you know, they have a great marriage up until this point. So I guess she's kind of wanting it to go back to what it was, but then she doesn't want to betray her friends as well. But she tells them she'll do it. Sorry. So she tells them she'll do it. So then Annie... So then the next thing we see, Annie, Beth, and Ruby are all together. And Annie is like, why did you use your mouth to do it? Because really they were in the clear if Beth hadn't done that. And Beth, she was like, that's such an amateur move. And Beth was like, listen, we are amateurs. I don't know what I'm doing. Y'all don't know what you're doing. We're all amateurs at this. So I mean, it is what it is. And so they're asking Ruby like, well, what does Stan tell us to do? Like, what is Stan saying do? And she says he's not saying anything. You know, because she doesn't want to admit that he's telling her to roll her friends so that, you know, they can get out of this. So they try to come up with something. They got nothing. They don't know what to do. So Ruby tells them she has to go. But before she leaves, Beth and Annie give Ruby some gifts for Sarah because, you know, she's recovering from her transplant. And they give her gifts and they're so thoughtful. And it's like, because they're friends, but they're like sisters as well, and you know they're really tight and close and everything. So that makes it even harder for Ruby when she goes to the police station and she has to turn herself in. You know, she knows she's gonna go to the police station and turn herself in so she can get a better deal. So that makes it really harder for her. So then we see Beth is supposed to go to the police station and she doesn't. She goes back because when she's about to get out, she goes to the police station, but then when she's about to get out, she's like, wait a minute, because she sees this forensic truck and she's like, what if she starts thinking like, what if we could get the pen? So she goes to Beth and Annie and she's like, okay, so we could just track his route and then we could get the evidence or whatever. So then they can't test it. And so they're like, but wouldn't they already have ran it and yada, yada, yada. And she's like, no, because they're going to have to wait on Beth to give hers. So that pin cap is not going anywhere until Beth gives hers. So she was like, so, you know, let's track his route, find it out and everything. And then Beth, after they got it all situated, Beth can go and give hers and then they can get in the truck, snag the pin cap and they're all set. So Stan wants to know, so Annie and Greg are once again in bed with each other, and the Sadie comes in. So they're in bed with each other, and Greg is kind of starting to tell Annie that he wants to be with her. Like, one of the reasons he wants to leave Nancy is because he wants to be with her, Annie. And Annie is just like, that's crazy and everything. But it's like she wants him, but she doesn't want him that way, if that makes sense. because that's breaking someone else's heart to get who you want or whatever. And then Sadie comes in and they try to pretend that they weren't doing anything, like they were having a fight and everything. And so that's that scene, but it's pretty much them just saying that they want to be with each other, but or he's telling her, and she's feeling conflicted because she feels bad about what that'll do to Nancy. Not that she is that close to Nancy, but it's just she has a conscience, and plus she's been doing a lot of stuff, so I guess that's just one extra thing on her conscience. So anyways, Stan wants to know when Ruby comes in and she's talking about all this stuff, just the kids and everything. And Stan's like, okay, so when are you going to have time to go and get go turn yourself in? Is it today, tomorrow, next year, next month? Like, when are you going to turn yourself in? And she's pretty much telling him, he was like, he starts telling her how many birthdays she would miss. And she tells him, they have, those women's children have birthdays as well. So it's not, she's trying to let him know it's not that easy just to turn myself in, because yes, I'll be protecting my family, but then I throw them under the rug, protecting, with their family. And one of the reasons that they did this, of course, each of them had their own personal reasons, but they also did it again for Sarah because of, they wanted to make sure, she was able to pay for the transplant and everything. And so that's what Ruby's dealing with. She's like, I get it. You want me to turn him in, but I can't. She just can't because she feels guilty about doing that. So then we go to the scene where they're trying to rob the van. So Beth and Annie are waiting for the man to get out the van, and Ruby is the decoy. So Ruby goes into this coffee shop where I guess the man likes to stop every day at a certain time to drink his coffee. And so she starts asking all these long questions. It's a cute scene. So I hope you guys have watched it, because I know some of y'all don't get to watch it, but it's a cute scene. It's pretty much where Ruby is asking every question about espresso, cappuccino, the teas, everything. And at this point, she has the line super held up. The line is very long. And because she's trying to give Beth and Annie enough time to get into the van, steal the pin cap, and get out. And so, but at this point, another barista comes and she starts checking out. And so she texts Annie and Beth okay, y'all gotta get out of there. If you're not out of the van, you got to, because, he's about to come outside. And so while they're in the van, they finally get in the van. And while they're in the van, they couldn't find the pin cap. So they're like, okay, I think if we unplug the van, it starts getting warm and it starts breaking down the evidence. So they were about to unplug the van, and Annie sees rape kits. And so they can't do it because they're like, that evidence will be broken down, and those women need they need that evidence, they need that evidence to be given, because they don't want someone to go free. Especially with Boomer having tried to rape Annie and everything. So they don't want someone to go free based on what they've done to the evidence as far as breaking it down with that. So they don't do it. So, and Ruby comes to the vehicle and she's talking about these red velvet frappes and everything, and they just let her know they had rape kits in there and they just couldn't do it. And so they're resigned to the fact that they're going to go to prison. They're just, it is what it is. They're just resigned to that. So then we see Ruby, okay, so then Beth calls Jimmy over. So Beth calls Jimmy over for some kind of bundt cake or some kind of cake she's made. And she's really, the whole call for her is just to beg him to let this go. You had and then he won't do it. He won't do it. I mean, he's a police officer. He can't just let it go. But then she gets upset and I'm like, man, what are you doing? Because she tells him, I gave you Rio. I literally put him on a silver platter for him. You should be thanking me. And I'm like, okay, sis, that's not the way to do this. But she was like, you should be thanking me because I gave him to you and you still didn't do anything with them or whatever. You still couldn't do anything. So Yeah, it made them upset. It made him pretty upset. And he's, so that the whole conversation ended with him just being like, I'm going to get you or whatever. And she telling him to get out of her house and everything. So, I mean, like, I don't know what Beth was thinking. That wasn't the way to go about it. But so then Stan comes in while Ruby is on the phone because the insurance, I think someone is trying to overcharge them, and she's fussing and complaining, and then he drops the pin cap down, and she just stopped, like she can't believe it because Stan is a police officer, so he could get in a lot of trouble. Like already his family is into this, like his wife is robbing stores, and doing all this stuff with this drug, running fake money. What do you call it? Laundering fake money, and all of that. So it's like washing fake money. So it's like you're already into all this, and now you pulled Stan in because he can't lure. He tells her later on. He tells her, "I did it for the kids. Like I didn't do it for you. You're like it's clear he didn't do it for her friends, or anyone. He did it for the kids because he doesn't want their mother in prison." So yeah. So then we go to Jimmy goes to Boomer, and he tells Boomer, yeah, you were right or whatever, and Boomer starts crying. I'm like, Boomer, get out. Like Boomer starts crying because he said, oh my gosh, it's been so long, and and no one believed him, and it was so, he just couldn't believe it. And then Boomer starts being, so Jimmy is like, he's gonna work with him, and he's gonna get Boomer to help him, and he's like, Boomer's wanting like some type of reward, and Jimmy's like, your reward is not going to prison because there is no way that you weren't aware of that much money being inside your grocery store, and you shouldn't have had it or whatever. So anyway, so what Jimmy is pretty much telling him is like, that you were cleaning that money for them and everything. So stop sitting here acting like you're so innocent or whatever, or what. See, he was like, I know you have something personal against these girls or whatever, which they could have already had this let go if Boomer would let it go, but it's like he can't let it go. And I don't understand like why Rio didn't, from like even last season, why Rio didn't put more pressure on Boomer to let it go. I guess that I'm not getting that, because it's almost like Boomer and Rio are separate. And I'm like, but Rio knew to go to Bethlehem for the money. Why didn't he put any pressure on Boomer and everything? I don't get it. Like that's the only part of this that I'm like, that doesn't make sense or whatever. Because if you look at it, they do. It's like Boomer's over here, and then it's the girls, and then it's Rio, and I'm like, why don't you ever mess with Boomer? Because he's a problem or whatever. But anywho, so Jimmy's gonna use Leslie to help him. I don't know how he's gonna use him, but he's gonna use Leslie to help him out with the girls and try to get the girls and Rio and everything now. So Dina's home, and Beth is trying to like make all his favorite foods, and it's like 9 a.m, and he's like, it's 9 a.m, I can't eat all, he can't eat that. But she's overcompensating because she feels guilty. Like she pretty much got him shot or whatever. And he's looking outside, and he sees like people. He was like, people are blowing past that stop sign, because I guess it used to be a stop sign, but it's gone. And he's like, people are blowing past that stop sign. He saw like 5 people. Somebody's gonna get hurt or whatever. And that's that scene. So then Stan, I already told you, he let Ruby know he did it for the kids. So Annie went to pick up Sadie. And when she picks up Sadie, Sadie tells her that Nancy was throwing up. She threw up all over or whatever. She's pregnant and everything. And all Annie can say is like, wow. Because, she's been messing with that woman's husband. Like, granted, they have a child together, but he's no longer yours. Like, he's not yours. So all she can say is wow, because one, she's in shock. But she knew they were trying to have a child, but I don't know about it. Like, it is what it is. He's having a baby with someone. He might want to be with you, but that's who he's having a child with. So it is what it is. So then Boomer goes to Mary Pat's house, And he lets her know that he's working with the FBI now and that he's under their protection and he's going to have to tell them everything. And of course she's scared because she's been blackmailing Beth and everyone. And so she tells him, you know, oh my gosh, you know, don't tell him about me or whatever. And he says, and he's blackmailing her. He tells her the only way that he'll not do it is, you know, if they're married, because married people can't testify against each other. Why Boomer won't let this woman alone, won't leave this woman alone, I don't know. Like, that's the only thing about this show. I love this show, but like certain things, I'm just like, why does he have to have Mary Pat so much? Like, why can't he just go ahead and find somebody like else that would want to be with all of that? Like, it's like he gets infatuated with the women who tell him, no, I don't want you, and he can't let it go. So anyways, he's blackmailing Mary Pat. So, you know, they're going to be engaged and to get married and everything, because that is what it is. So then we go to to Elizabeth, Beth, Ruby, and Annie. I'll call her Elizabeth. So we go to Beth, Annie, and Ruby, and they're all sitting there with their kids, as their kids are, you know, eating and playing and everything in the park. And they're happy because they're like, oh my gosh, they're thinking that it's over because they have the pin cap. So there's no way someone can trace it back to them. So what ends up happening is, like, they're laughing because Beth's son used all the money up on himself. So they're like, oh my gosh, look at him. He ate it all himself or whatever. And Beth happens to see that black Cadillac. Remember in the last season, she told Jimmy that the man she had an affair with, who she was talking about was Rio, drove like a black Mercedes or a black Cadillac. So she sees the Cadillac, she knows it's Rio, and she's like, we should go. And then he says, no, let the kid eat. So then he sits down and he's like, y'all miss me? And she's like, no. And so then he sits down and he tells them Boomer has been talking to the feds and that's a problem and they need to take care of him. And they're like, excuse me, we don't do that. Like, why can't you get someone who's more who does that for you? Like, you know, we know you have people who do that for you. And he was like, because they didn't do this, you did, so you need to take care of it or whatever. And then his son comes running up and they're all shocked, like, you got a child? So his son comes running up and he tells him, what do I always tell you to do whenever you make a big boo-boo or something? And they were like, clean it up. You got to clean up your own mess. He was like, yep, you got to clean it up. And so he leaves and he says, that's for you. And it's a bag. And Beth looks into the bag and Annie and Ruby are like, what's in it? What's in it? And that's how it goes off. So that is is that a recap or review? That is the recap, I guess, of the whole show. I liked it. I always liked this show since I first started watching it. Like, I got into it like midway, through the first, y'all, it's spring. My sinus always act up even more. Midway through the first of last season, and so I started watching it from there. And then this past, before it came out, I watched it, for the first season all over again, just to get caught up. But I enjoyed the first episode. I think they caught us all up. They didn't make everything so dramatic. Dean had put up a good fight with Rio. He just lost or whatever. I didn't know. That's what I was saying when I was like, I didn't know Rio was that tall or whatever. But yeah, Dean, he put a good fight. He just lost. And it's like, Beth keeps like, she keeps just getting in, like, every time the ladies think it's gone or, they're in the clear, it's like something else happens. And like Boomer just won't leave them alone or whatever. But I think Beth keeps digging them in deeper as well. Like, the last thing you want to do is like tick off a police officer or whatever. But so that was season 2, episode 1. I'd rather be crafting. I have the second episode out. I'm just going to drop the second episodes out like in a row. I'm probably gonna film it all today, so I'll be having the same clothes on, but I'm gonna just schedule them all like until I get caught up, which they're already on episode 4, so I'm a little bit behind, but that's it. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'm enjoying this show. I hope you are as well. Leave comments below if you have any feedback, please. Bye.